In this short animated video series, we're going to be looking at viruses. Now, life across the world has been ground to a halt the whole 2020 because of a coronavirus causing a global pandemic. And you might be thinking viruses are some rare types of bacteria that cause us to get sick. Well, viruses are far more complex than that, and unlike bacteria, viruses are not actually living things. So drugs like antibiotics or bacteria killers have little or no effect on them. Antibiotics contain chemicals that affect the life of bacteria, like how bacteria eat, how they breathe, or how they feed, and kills the bacteria in the end. Well, viruses are actually confusing and hard to understand whether to actually group them as living things or not, because a virus is basically made up of just genetic code surrounded by a protein coat also known as a capsid. And that's it. They don't have any legs, they don't have any mouth, they don't have any lungs, they don't show any signs of life, they don't grow or do anything. However, the genetic code is the basic element of life, and every form of life has some sort of a genetic code. But the interesting thing is, other forms of life usually use only DNA. They come in single or double-stranded DNA or RNA. They are the only forms of life that can come in such forms. And the bad news is, they are everywhere. There are probably billions of different virus types out there, and for every form of life that possibly exists, there is some sort of virus or different types of viruses that can infect or are capable of infecting it. In fact, they are real-life anarchists, and they infect every form of life, including other forms of microbes like bacteria. They don't follow any rules in society. They're just anarchists and vandals. So we might argue all day whether they are living or non-living, but what we need to understand is how they affect humans or other forms of life. Well, we've seen how viruses have no plans to eat, or to breathe, or to grow. What could be their actual plans? Well, the only intentions of viruses is to survive in nature, and they do this by kidnapping a living cell, also known as a host cell, and use all of this host cell's own lungs, the energy and the food to make as many copies of its own genetic code as possible, instead of doing the cell's own duty of breaking down food and sending out energy. And once the virus has made so many copies of this genetic code as possible, and these genetic viral copies are so many that the cell cannot even handle it, they break down the cell, and each of these millions of small viral genetic codes cut off a small part of the host cell's membrane, or let's say the cell's skin, and each small viral DNA or RNA wraps this cell skin around itself to form its new protein coat. So you can imagine, now they all look like the cell, and they can go out on a rampage attacking as many other cells as possible, using the host and its cells as machinery to produce as many viral DNA as possible. Now you can see why I call them real-life anarchists. So thanks very much for watching. Now in the upcoming videos, we're gonna really break down the life of viruses and how they carry out their negotiations, how they invade the cell, how they confuse the cell to pass into genetic material, how the genetic material is activated, and everything they do to multiply, and how they generally affect us, the cycles of replication and everything. So thanks very much for watching. Please keep liking our channel, sharing and subscribing, and sharing your opinion on what you think. And stay blessed. Have a happy new year. Stay healthy. Thank you. Ciao.